Hello and welcome to Fit News. I have a special guest today. Joining me today is David Burch. He is a certified integral Tai Chi and Qigong instructor, empowering people to improve their own health through mind-body practices, which include relaxation, mindfulness, and stress management. David has completed over 500 hours of in-person intensive training in Qigong and Tai Chi. With a background as a former information technology professional, David developed a passion for Qigong as a teenager and rediscovered it as a means of improving his health after a healing crisis of a liver shutdown and a diagnosis of chronic kidney disease. He has now been practicing daily for over 13 years. As the founder and the owner of Energy Center, David delivers classes and workshops at yoga studios, local area events, as well as recorded online courses, workshops, challenges, and live virtual events. He has served as a continuing education instructor at Eastern New Mexico University and has previously taught Tai Chi and Qigong courses as an adjunct faculty at Clovis Community College, where he also developed curriculum and trained faculty and staff. At the beginning of COVID, David created a free Tai Chi and Qigong resource that served over 400 veterans. David, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate you taking this time with us. We're excited to learn.
Thank you for having me. This is my first podcast,
Yay.
live stream, anything. So.
Oh, well, and there's more big news that it is a first because you are our first male guest.
Oh, great.
So yay, lots of firsts going on, right? I think before we get started into everything, because I think many might have a perception or maybe a misperception, let's talk about what exactly, and we'll do one at a time, what exactly is Tai Chi?
Okay, so Tai Chi is a martial art. So Tai Chi is, the yin yang symbol,
Yes.
which stands for grand ultimate. So Shuan at the end is fist or fighting. So it's fighting in a manner that is yielding and pressing.
Okay.
And so it's a martial art, several hundred years old.
Okay.
You usually have different family styles that it was passed down from. The Chen family in the Chen village, the Yang family, the Li family, in different families that were passed down. Now, what you see is there's a simplified form called the 24 steps form.
Okay.
And that was created turn of the century in Beijing or Peking. And that is what you'll see most often nowadays.
Okay.
The longer sets, the more traditional sets are like 108 steps.
Oh, wow.
What I do is I teach Tai Chi Easy, which is simplified. It's like 5 steps. And we're teaching it for health and vitality. So we aren't teaching fighting, like
Right.
throwing people down. And although I have been in workshops, beside an 80-year-old woman there for it, and she's like throwing me down. It's just like, I didn't come here for this.
Okay. So I guess that is a
mixed.
misperception that I had, that
Yeah.
it is part of the the martial arts family.
Right. But
Okay.
it's mostly practice for health,
Okay. Right.
But yes, it is a martial art.
Okay.
It's an internal martial art.
Okay. And then, so that is Tai Chi. And how about the Qigong?
So Qigong is much older.
Oh,
So as with the earliest forms of writing and pottery and everything else, you'll see Qigong in the Chinese culture.
okay.
So it's very much nature-based activity. You get out in nature. The earliest forms may be mimicking animals, such as in yoga, you have upward and downward dog.
Right.
In Qigong, you might be mimicking the crane because the crane was thought to live a long time, or the tortoise in the breathing, or, so it very much a health longevity type exercise,
Okay.
much older. So in reality, I kind of say most people practice Tai Chi as Qigong because you're not practicing to fight.
Right.
You're practicing for health and vitality. And with slow movement, connecting a mind-body practice, connecting your movements with your breath, that's Qigong.
Okay. Okay. Which it
I want to say
also
one more.
mirrors yoga, correct? Because yoga is connecting the breath with the movement.
Yeah, they're sister arts from different sides of the mountain.
Okay.
So, and
I like that.
they interacted quite a lot.
Okay.
So like an old set of Qigong actually came over from India,
Oh,
and Zen, Bodhidharma came over from India, was in the Shaolin Temple in the Buddhist side.
okay.
And that was passed on down to China. In China, it's Chan. In Japan, it's Zen.
Oh,
So it's everything is very connected.
right. Right.
And there's a lot of similarities, and there's a lot of difference in culture and intent. So,
Okay.
especially when it gets to America.
Right. Right. Because I think, when we think of Tai Chi, we do think of it, we've often seen, whether it's in the movies or I've seen, the gentleman at the park early in the morning practicing in a very slow moving manner. So I guess you don't really look at it in a fighting, relationship.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I do want to say one more thing about Qigong.
Yeah.
It's a modern term.
Oh,
Qigong is more of a modern term, more of
okay.
an umbrella term for a lot of different arts, from the breath work to some that might look a little bit more like yoga, sitting down, stretching, bending, to more that some of them that look more like Tai Chi, so it's a big umbrella term for all of these internal mind-body practices that come from China.
Okay. Let's go back because you mentioned that you first discovered Qigong when you were younger. And how did you discover it?
I live in a very small rural area.
Yeah.
So, I could get magazines.
Yeah.
Inside Kung Fu magazines and see that kind of thing. I could order books from bookstores. At that time, there were only about 2 books that I could get in my area. Looking back, there were more at the time, but I just wasn't exposed to them and couldn't find them.
Right.
One was, I can't remember her name, but it was a very esoteric kind of book. And it had like one picture with all these circles showing, all these movements for like 100 movements with all these circles. And it was impossible for me to figure that out.
Right.
And then there's a book from Japan too on Qi or energy. So that's one thing. Qigong means energy work or energy cultivation, or at its very basic translation, breath work.
Okay.
Because energy is in the breath, but the culture is energy is in every living thing.
Okay.
So in Japan, Qi is called Ki, Ki. So instead of Qi, Qi, it's Ki.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was a book on Ki from a Aikido master, again, martial arts, related in the Japanese martial arts. It's the throwing art that Steven Seagal uses.
Okay.
Is Aikido. There was a book from an Aikido master on just that kind of the healing aspects of it.
Okay.
Breath work, sitting in a river without shaking, like you see, like the modern Wim Hof kind of thing.
Okay.
they would do that.
Right. Right. And then, so you discovered it for its healing properties, and how did it help you? And what did you start to do? And how did you, figure out that the healing was related to the Qigong?
That's kind of a long story,
Yeah.
but I'll try to shorten it as much as I could.
Okay.
So when I was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease, which
Mhm.
was end-stage renal failure was the other term for it,
Okay.
which doesn't sound too good.
No.
And it's not, your diagnosis is not, you're not going to live years and years. And I
Mhm.
had young children at the time. So what
Mhm.
I want to do, I want longevity.
Right.
So I'm seeing a nephrologist.
Mhm.
And I see a nephrologist. He's an old school doc and I see him about once a month for 6 months. And every visit I go in, he tells me long-term studies have proven that what we're doing, nephrologists, will
Mhm.
not help, will not delay you from dialysis.
Okay.
And then I would go back to my private practice doctor, private practitioner, and he would tell me, you realize that these medicines that they're still giving you can cause kidney problems as a side effect. So it's kind of I go in, every time he's giving me about a 30-minute lecture. And after a while, I kind of figure, well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
He says, basically, there are new studies. They will know what to do in about 15 years, whether that pans out. So I started looking for other ways. I
Yeah.
found diet.
Right.
There's studies on very low protein, and by low protein I mean no protein,
Mhm.
like only amino acids with the thick, chalky
Oh, right. Right.
dust.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I presented that to my nephrologist, and he's like, "Oh no, we don't do that because people tend to follow it too well and they decimate themselves."
Oh,
So I was like, "Okay." So I'm looking again, and I came across some references to kidney problems in qigong.
nice.
So the kidneys are a very core, like the heart in the Western world is core to fitness.
Right.
In the Chinese system, kidneys are, that's where
Oh,
you get all your energy. And if you
okay.
think about it, the adrenal
Well,
glands on
mhm.
top,
Right.
and also the kidneys are very connected to the heart, in
Right.
the circulatory
Right.
system.
Yeah.
So, and actually the medicine that I was on was not a kidney medicine, it was a heart
Oh.
medicine
Oh.
to lower your blood pressure. So what does Qigong do? And what does breath work do? It lowers your blood pressure.
Naturally.
Right. So if you look at, like if you Google, how do I move myself, my autonomic nervous system into the parasympathetic?
Yes.
Go out in nature. Massage. Breathing. Mind-body arts, like
Mhm.
meditation. And, the form of Qigong that I was doing had all those elements in it.
Okay.
And so what I did was I went to learn it from a teacher that was in Gainesville, Florida. Okay. And it's a very traditional, he's a Kung Fu guy,
Oh,
right? So I went out there several times. Then
yeah.
I went around the world to Malaysia to learn it from his Kung Fu grandmaster
Oh,
a couple
wow.
of times, a couple of weeks. And then went to Costa Rica with them both. And then, back to Arkansas with the first guy. And so while I'm doing that, I'm practicing at least once a day.
Oh, wow.
So, and how does it work? I think it works with the parasympathetic nervous system to reduce that stress response.
Mhm.
And so it puts your body back in where you can rest and digest.
Mhm.
Okay.
Back in alignment.
Right. That's one way it works. I think it also
Mhm.
works in different ways too. So,
Yeah.
and also like I mentioned, all those ways of increasing your vagal tone and parasympathetic response,
Mhm.
moving into rest and digest, all those things Qigong does. Traditionally, they practice out in nature,
Oh. Mhm.
good quality air,
Right.
first thing in the morning, you're out there or late at night, you're out there.
Mhm.
And the breathing, the meditation, all that is built into what one of my instructors calls the 5-phase routine. One of them that I missed was progressive relaxation.
Okay.
Relaxation is real important. Emotional response, smiling from the heart, breathing, connecting your breath to motion,
Mm-hmm.
meditation. I do a standing meditation at the end, and
Okay.
then acupressure massage,
Oh,
or reflexology massage,
okay.
the ears, hands, feet, acupressure points.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is basically what a Qigong practice would look like in one of my systems.
Okay. Wow. Because we do know that breath work is very important when it comes to also keeping, the gut balanced. And
Right.
then what's going on in your gut, right?
Yeah. The
Affects
second brain.
all the other systems, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the nervous system, the vagus nerve goes through all the organs,
Mm-hmm.
through all the systems,
Mm-hmm.
and you can activate that with these different methods.
Okay.
And even with breath, the diaphragmatic breathing
Mm-hmm.
massages that nerve,
Right.
and helps move it in, diaphragmatic breathing.
Right.
One of the things that can be confusing is there's a lot of names for the same thing. So,
Go
so
figure.
like for diaphragmatic breathing, belly breathing, baby breathing, or embryo breathing, kidney breathing. It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
So, or very similar. But it
Yeah.
comes from different traditions and
Okay.
different.
And how can people, if they want to, so we know that, doing breath work and adding it in, daily, even in a simple manner,
Okay.
is important, right? I mean, it will make a difference in their stress level and in many other aspects of their life. What would you recommend if somebody wanted to incorporate a daily practice? And, they're not real familiar with it, but they're, because I do feel like breath work is kind of the new, new trend lately. I'm seeing, you're seeing a lot more about it. So if somebody is, starting to get interested, what do you recommend?
I always start off, whenever I teach Qigong, starting off with like a 5-minute breath practice.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is I layer my practices. So if you walk away after 5 minutes, I want you to have something that you can take away for a daily practice.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start with a 5-minute balanced breathing.
Okay.
I'll show you how to change that into Qigong.
Okay.
Then I'll put it into that 5-phase routine, with the full body relaxation, and where we do that moving meditation will be the breath work linked to your body movements.
Okay.
And then we do some unwinding of the nervous system. Yeah, some shaking and unwinding and the standing meditation, and then we do the acupressure massage.
Yeah.
But I start off with the breath work.
Okay.
And would you like me to do one?
I think that would be great. Yes.
Okay. So balanced breathing. Balanced breathing is what I call it. You might hear it called by these names too. Paced breathing, because you're varying the pace of your breathing. You're slowing down, you're breathing long, slow, deep breaths.
Okay.
Cardiac coherence breathing, because when you breathe at a breath rate of 6 breaths a minute,
Mm-hmm.
which is much slower, your heart rate starts to match your breathing.
Oh.
So you're slowing down your breathing, you also slow down your heart rate. And what it becomes is, if you have yourself hooked up to a machine like HeartMath, on your earlobe, you've got a sensor for your heart rate.
Okay.
You can see it will look like kind of like an EKG. It would be up and down, up and down, up and down, and varied down, 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 up, 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 down, up, down.
Right.
Both your heart rate, for both your heart rate and your breath pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm talking right now, I'm breathing sporadically.
Yeah.
But if I slow down, it will start to look like a sine wave. And after even a few breaths, certainly after a few minutes, my heart rate will look like my breath pattern.
Okay. So the
So
heart rate moves with the breath work, just like the breath work moves with the movement.
Right.
Yeah.
So breath is automatic,
Mm-hmm.
but we can influence it.
Okay.
So what we do is we slow down, long, slow, deep breaths. Or in some of the popular movements, we hyperventilate, we speed up.
Okay.
So I prefer calming down because
Right.
that's what I'm into.
Right. Right. Well, and that's what most people need, right? They need
Right.
stress reduction because of all of the side effects, negative side effects,
Right, because we spend so much time stressed out.
Right. Right. Right.
We have sleep problems. We have
Mm-hmm.
So very quickly,
Mm-hmm.
it would be an inhale for 5, exhale for 5.
Okay.
Now I'm going to say the words inhale
Mm-hmm.
and exhale. So I'm only going to be counting to 4,
Okay.
but it's a 5 count.
Right.
So you would inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. And you would do that for 30 breath cycles, which
Okay.
ends up to be 5 minutes.
Okay. Oh, okay. But I mean, even in just those few
You will
short
see,
ones,
you will
you could
see,
already feel
right. You will see,
relaxation.
if you want to take it into your daily life, just practice 3 deep breaths whenever you're highly stressed,
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Yeah.
And you'll see a difference.
Okay.
5 minutes, you will see a reduction in cortisol by about 20% for a short term.
Wow. That's huge. And we all know
Yeah.
the dangers of cortisol, right?
Yeah. So
Too much
stress
anyway.
hormone.
Right.
And then it'll also lower your blood pressure temporarily too.
Oh.
Okay. But it wears off. That effect wears off after about 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So if you only did one thing, do that 5-minute breathing 3 times a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to move the dial further into
Mm-hmm.
the parasympathetic, like right before bedtime,
Right.
you would do an extended exhale.
Oh.
And so that looks like the exhale is twice as long. So that looks like inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you couldn't do it for that long, like the 8 count or the 10, you just double up. So you do inhale 1, 2, 3, exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
And that will move you further over into the parasympathetic.
Okay. And improve your sleep.
Right. And then there's one more.
All right. Let's do it.
This one is being studied a lot, and there's a lot of studies out right now. It's called the physiological sigh,
Okay.
or the cyclic sigh. And it's a double inhale with that slow exhale like we just did.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a belly breath,
Mm-hmm.
big chest breath. So it's a double inhale, and then it's a very slow exhale. Out through your nose or through your mouth, either one. I usually do the mouth because it's kind of like an escape valve almost, releases more stress.
Right.
So it's like, so inhale, filling yourself up as much as you can, like a big balloon, and then letting that balloon out as slowly as you can. And that one is being heavily studied. You'll see some studies from Stanford out right now.
Okay.
That said this practice, that double inhale, slow exhale, is for 5 minutes, beats mindfulness, and it beats that hyperventilation type breath that we're talking about
Right. Right.
when it comes to mood and relaxation.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed both of those. And I think the best thing about those is that, number one, you don't need any equipment, right?
Right. Mhm.
And you can literally just implement them now. You don't have to wait for something else. You can start those immediately and have them affect you positively immediately.
And they're highly portable, highly
Right.
accessible.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to like let people know that you're doing them.
Mm-hmm.
You just like, I'm going to be talking to you and I'm going to slow down my inhale a little bit.
Right.
And I'm going to slow down my exhale a little bit.
Yeah.
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 And while you're talking, maybe I'm doing that.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, you're sitting in a meeting and suddenly you feel yourself getting stressed.
Right.
Do your breathing. Yeah.
And so one thing I want to mention, since you mentioned breathing and meetings. In our culture, there's two things that we do that are a sign of relaxation that I want to mention that you should not stop yourself from doing.
Yeah.
And that's sighing and yawning. If you sigh, or if you have like neighbors in your cubicleville who are
Right.
sighing, they need it.
Yeah.
And if you're yawning, you need it.
Yeah.
That's that escape valve of your nervous system. It
Yeah.
needs that.
Okay.
So we're socially conscious and we don't want to be seen yawning or
Right.
sighing. But I've actually, when I was in corporateville,
Yeah.
actually told people who were apologizing for that, like, no,
Right.
you do that.
Right. Right. And I see my dog doing both of those things all the time. So we need to take
Right.
a lesson from our pets, right?
It comes with the
Nature
stress.
knows.
When they're doing their upward
Right.
dog, they're
Yep.
probably yawning.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. David, where can people find you if they want more information on both of these topics of Tai Chi and Qigong and breathwork in itself as
Right.
well?
So my business is Energy Center.
Okay.
So energycenter.tv,
Okay.
because I have video courses there. And I have a 28-day challenge that you can sign up for. And it's recorded videos that take you through one thing every 28 days and build into that end of the week full practice.
Okay, wonderful. Well, David, we appreciate you sharing all of this knowledge today to help people with their stress level and learn how to make breath work part of their daily routine. So thank you so much for joining us today on Fit News.
Thanks for having me.